Lionel Messi, in tears. Not because of an injury, not because of criticism, but because his final World Cup dream slipped away by just one goal. The stadium fell silent. Millions of football fans around the world watched in heartbreak as the greatest player of his generation sat alone on the grass, his face buried in his hands, unable to hold back the tears. Is this really the end of Lionel Messi's journey with Argentina? Or is there still one final chapter waiting to be written? The reactions that followed were unlike anything we've ever seen. Argentina's biggest newspapers were filled with headlines of heartbreak, gratitude, and admiration. Lionel Scaloni finally broke his silence and made a shocking statement about his future with the national team. A Spanish football legend paid an emotional tribute to Messi, and Pep Guardiola shared a heartfelt message that has left millions of fans around the world deeply moved. In today's video, we'll take you through everything that happened after the dramatic 2026 World Cup final, uncover the emotional reactions from around the football world, and reveal why, despite the defeat, many believe this tournament only strengthened Lionel Messi's legacy as one of the greatest players the game has ever seen. So make sure you watch until the very end, because some of the moments and statements you're about to hear may completely change the way you remember this unforgettable night. But before we begin, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think it's time for Lionel Messi to retire from international football, or do you believe he deserves one last chance with Argentina? And if you're a true Messi fan, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest football stories. Now let's begin. Argentine newspapers drown in sorrow and send inspiring messages to Messi. Scaloni reveals his stance on continuing with Argentina after the World Cup loss. Spanish legend on Messi. I take my hat off to him, and he will remain a legend. Pep Guardiola's comment on Messi's tears after the final. Don't forget to share your opinion with us in the comments about whether it's time for Messi to retire internationally or whether you hope he continues. And if you're a follower of Messi, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow everything new. Argentine newspapers drown in sorrow and send inspiring messages to Messi. Sorrow dominated the headlines of Argentine newspapers following their national team's 1-0 loss to Spain after extra time in the 2026 World Cup final. But feelings of pride in Lionel Messi were strongly present in the media coverage, which saw that La Albiceleste's captain bid farewell to the World Cup in a manner befitting his historic standing, despite losing the dream of a fourth star. Despite the bitterness of defeat, the newspapers agreed that Messi ended an exceptional tournament at the age of 39, having scored 8 goals and created 4 others. They affirmed that his legacy with the national team goes far beyond the result of one match, and that he restored Argentina's standing among the world's football giants. The newspaper Clarín highlighted the human side of Argentina's captain's journey, affirming that Messi fought until the very last moment and taught an entire generation the meaning of never giving up after restoring the fans' love for the national team. It added that the image of Messi wearing the silver medal with tears streaming down his face after the final whistle will remain one of the most emotional images in World Cup history, considering that what he delivered throughout the tournament confirms he remains one of the greatest footballers of all time. As for the newspaper La Nación, its headline was deeply moving, the captain's tears. Messi cries, and Argentina embraces him. Thank you, Lionel. You made us happy enough. It affirmed that although the national team failed to add another world title, it left behind a legacy that will endure after years of success that returned Argentina to the summit of world football. The newspaper Crónica settled for one simple headline that carried immense meaning: legend. It noted that Messi's tears after the match and the warm applause he received from the fans were the greatest tribute to the career of a player who came close to winning a second World Cup but left with his head held high. The newspaper Perfil focused on the technical aspects of the match, affirming that Spain imposed its dominance from start to finish, while Argentina resisted as much as possible before Ferran Torres decided the match in extra time. It added that injuries affected coach Lionel Scaloni's options, while Emiliano Martinez was Argentina's standout performer after making multiple crucial saves, affirming that the defeat does not erase the outstanding tournament La Albiceleste delivered. The newspaper La Capital chose a moving headline: Messi's tears, everyone's tears. The end of an era and the beginning of a legend. It stated that Argentina's captain broke down after the final whistle in what was his last World Cup appearance, but bid farewell to the tournament amid extraordinary applause and tributes from the fans in a scene that will remain unforgettable. For its part, the website El Destape described what happened as an epic of resilience until the end, noting that Argentina fought despite being a man down, and that Messi's tears after the match reflected the depth of the heartbreak. At a time when coach Lionel Scaloni's post-match remarks raised questions about his future, Scaloni reveals his stance on continuing with Argentina after the World Cup loss. Argentine coach Lionel Scaloni experienced an extremely painful night after losing the 2026 World Cup title to Spain by a score of 1-0, making surprising and emotional statements about his future with La Albiceleste that sparked widespread reaction. Scaloni could not hold back his tears during the post-match press conference. He broke down in front of the world's media while speaking about the difficulty of the moment and the immense sorrow he felt after losing the coveted trophy in the final minutes. Argentina's head coach openly acknowledged Spain's superiority in the final, affirming that Spain was the better side at MetLife Stadium, while simultaneously expressing great pride in the fighting spirit and determination shown by his players throughout the tournament. Scaloni said, "My contract with Argentina continues until the end of next December." He then delivered the biggest surprise of the press conference by leaving the door open to the possibility of stepping down. He explained that his current contract with the Argentine Football Association expires next December and that he has not yet decided whether to renew it or conclude his journey with everything this generation has achieved. The Argentine coach also revealed that he will hold an important meeting with the federation president to discuss all matters. He admitted that he is uncertain whether it is possible to achieve something even greater than what this generation has already accomplished, emphasizing that building another united and successful group like this would require enormous physical and psychological effort. Scaloni stressed the importance of accepting defeat with sportsmanship, saying his team proved to the world that it knows how to lose with dignity just as it knows how to win with pride. He insisted that this painful defeat will never erase the tremendous work and sacrifices everyone made to reach the World Cup final. The coach also sent a special message of thanks to Argentina's fans around the world, explaining that the players gave everything they had on the pitch and that their commitment and determination should always serve as an example for future generations. What is Scaloni's stance on continuing with Argentina's national team? The emotional coach concluded by saying that he urgently needs time to think and rest before making any final decision regarding his future. He expressed his deep sadness and emphasized that he will never forget the extraordinary support he has received throughout his historic coaching journey with Argentina. Spanish legend on Messi. "I take my hat off to him, and he will remain a legend." Spanish football legend Carles Puyol praised Argentine superstar Lionel Messi, affirming that Argentina's captain was the main reason his country reached the 2026 World Cup final despite ultimately losing the title to Spain. Puyol said in a television interview, "I believe this Argentine national team reached the final thanks to Messi. I don't want to talk about the previous World Cup, but in this edition I saw that the team leaned on Messi, and he was the one who led them to the final." He added, "That wasn't enough for them to become champions, but I take my hat off to him. I will always remain grateful to Leo Messi for everything he gave us as a teammate and everything he gave to football. I will always wish him all the best." Spain won the 2026 FIFA World Cup for the second time in its history after defeating Argentina 1-0 in the final held on Sunday evening at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, in the tournament hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Spain enjoyed an outstanding campaign throughout the tournament, relying on its trademark possession-based style before securing the world title against Lionel Messi's Argentina and adding a second World Cup star to its history. Pep Guardiola's comment on Messi's tears after the final. Pep Guardiola's comment on Messi's tears after the final. "Those tears, this is what he won't forget from that night." Leo sat on the grass, his face buried in his hands, tears pouring down without trying to hide them. He's seen that face since Messi was a little boy at Barcelona, and he knows exactly what that expression means. It wasn't simply sadness over a lost trophy. It was something much deeper, something only understood by a man who left absolutely everything on the pitch and kept nothing for himself. And he wants to begin with those tears because they say more about Messi than any statistic ever could. A man who has achieved everything a footballer can achieve. Every title, every award, every record. There is nothing left for him to prove to anyone, and nothing left for him to accomplish. Yet, at 39 years old, he cries because of one goal in extra time. This is passion in its purest form. This is a man who doesn't play for what another trophy adds to his resume, but because he loves football in a way few people ever have. Everyone already knows he's the best. This is no longer a debate. People argued for years, and he was constantly at the center of those discussions. But this tournament ended that debate. A 39-year-old leading an entire national team from the group stage all the way to the final. Scoring, creating, carrying the team, being the most influential player in a tournament filled with the world's greatest stars at the peak of their careers. Who can argue after this? One goal in extra time. That was all that separated a legendary ending from a heartbreaking one. Football does this sometimes. It compresses months of sacrifice and dreams into one single moment that can never be taken back. And as a coach, he knows the cruelty of those moments because he has lived them himself. But watching it happen to Leo feels completely different. Think about what Messi accomplished in this tournament. He carried an entire nation on his shoulders from the opening match to the final. He scored. He created. He fought. He rescued his team in matches where elimination seemed much closer than survival. He never let anyone down. Not for a single moment. And in the end, everything came down to one tiny detail completely beyond his control, at a moment when he had absolutely nothing left to give. That is what makes him truly sad. Not because Argentina lost. Spain is a magnificent team, brilliantly built by Luis de la Fuente, and fully deserved its achievement. But Leo deserved another ending. Football simply didn't give it to him this time. But let him say the most important thing. He says it from the heart. He doesn't want this to be the legend's ending. He doesn't want this to be the last image people remember. People are talking about retirement. He understands that every journey eventually comes to an end. But football isn't ready to lose him. And neither are we. A player performing at this extraordinary level should not have his last memory be tears on the grass. He deserves to choose his own farewell. He deserves to leave the game on his own terms, not because of the outcome of one match. And he knows Messi well enough to believe that whatever decision he makes will be made calmly, away from the noise, just as he has handled every major decision throughout his life. But as someone who loves football before anything else, he hopes Leo gives them a little more time. Messi will never be measured by this night, nor by any single night. Anyone who tries to summarize 20 years of greatness with the result of one match has understood neither football nor the man himself. What he built cannot be destroyed by one goal, nor can it be diminished by one defeat. He saw him walk over to greet the fans despite everything. That is the Leo he has known since childhood. Even in his most painful moments, he still thinks first about the people who supported him. That isn't flattery. It isn't protocol. It's simply who he is. And those supporters who continued cheering despite the heartbreaking defeat know exactly what they have. They know that what he gave them can never be measured by a title or a trophy. He also saw Argentina's players sitting on the grass, completely devastated. And that revealed something beautiful amid all the sorrow. Those men weren't crying only because they lost the World Cup. They were crying for him. They wanted to give him that perfect ending. And they fell just short. That kind of love cannot be found in many dressing rooms around the world. And it certainly cannot be bought. Football is cruel. Sometimes it gives. Sometimes it takes away. Often without any clear logic. But in the end, people forget results over time. What they remember is who made them feel something real. From that perspective, Leo won a long time ago, and no one can ever take that away from him. No matter what happens, he knows these words won't ease tonight's pain. Pain like this cannot be healed by words, nor by condolences, nor even by love. But he wants Messi to know one thing. For him, and for millions of people around the world, he hasn't lost anything that truly matters. Leo, you made football more beautiful than you found it. And that is greater than any trophy anyone has ever lifted. The tears will dry. The pain will fade. But what you gave to football will remain long after all of us are gone. And don't go yet. Please, don't go yet.